It started with a late text, harmless on its surface. Working late. Don't wait up. Emily sat at the kitchen table, her fingers drumming the wood, staring at the phone like it might change its mind. The baby monitor crackled softly beside her, a reminder that there was a life upstairs still untouched by the corrosion spreading through the house. Adam used to call when he was running late. Used to send photos from the job site, jokes, selfies with dusty boots. She knew the smell of sawdust on his clothes the way she knew her own heartbeat, but lately it was different. Excuses, silence. 2 weeks earlier, she had found a woman's earring under the passenger seat of his truck. Gold, dainty, not hers. Adam had laughed too easily when she showed him, tossing it out the window as if it were nothing but a mistake, an anomaly. Now, at 10:43 p.m., with the baby sleeping and the house breathing its empty sighs, Emily opened the laptop. She hadn't meant to snoop, but the urge was a living thing inside her, a clawing creature. The email was left open, careless or brazen, a thread between Adam and a woman named Marissa, sweet, aching words, plans, nights in hotels. The betrayal cracked through her chest, like a frozen river splitting underfoot. Adam came home smelling faintly of whiskey and cologne she didn't wear. His smile faltered when he saw her awake. "Hey, babe. Thought you'd be in bed." Had trouble sleeping. The words tasted metallic. Emily stood arms crossed and asked the question she had been rehearsing all night. "Who is she?" He blinked, stunned still. For a moment she thought he might lie, thought she might let him. But something shifted behind his eyes. "Emily." His voice broke. "It's over. I swear." The room held the weight of every broken thing between them. She asked him to sit. She wanted answers, but her voice was careful, measured. Not because she wasn't angry, she was a live wire, but because she needed to understand whether the life they had built was salvageable or already ash. Over the following days, they existed in a suspended state, half marriage, half standoff. Emily grilled him surgically about every detail, when it started, 4 months ago, why it happened. He felt invisible, stupid, excuses she could hardly bear to hear. Emily knew Marissa now, too. She was younger, vibrant in a way that Emily could not remember ever being, even before the baby and the bills and the slow erosion of romance into obligation. But she also learned something else, something Adam hadn't known she had found. The construction firm Adam worked for had been under investigation for siphoning funds from a community project. And Marissa wasn't just a fling, she was a junior investigator for the city, planted inside to get close to Adam and his crew. But hey, betrayal took on new dimensions. Adam wasn't just a cheater, he was a pawn. And Emily had a choice to make. A detective named Valerie came to the house one rainy afternoon, pretending to be someone looking for quotes on a remodel. Emily offered coffee, played the part. Inside, Valerie revealed her badge. "I know Adam wasn't the main actor," she said, voice low, glancing upstairs toward the nursery. "We're offering a deal. Testify, hand over evidence, protect your family." Emily watched Adam across the room, unkempt, gray at the temples, face drawn. A man she still loved, maybe. A man she couldn't forgive, maybe. When Valerie left, Adam slumped into a chair and stared at his hands. "I wanted it to be different," he said. "I was trying to fix everything. For us." "You broke it," she said simply. "You broke everything." The night settled around them heavy and suffocating. They spoke until morning, arguing, crying, confessing. Adam didn't deny anything anymore. Emily didn't let him. When dawn finally broke, Emily stood by the window, staring at the street. "We can survive this," Adam said behind her, voice rough. "If you still want to." "I don't know," she whispered. "I don't know if I want to survive it with you." In the end, Emily made the choice alone. She handed over Adam's laptop to Valerie, quietly, No confrontation, no tears. The last scene was simple. Adam mowing the lawn, oblivious, while Emily packed a duffel bag for her and the baby. Not a flight, not yet. But the first quiet move away from him, away from the life built on things neither of them could repair. She left a note on the kitchen table. "We can't bury what's already rotted. I'll call you when I'm ready to talk." As she drove away, the baby sleeping in the back seat, Emily didn't know if the road ahead was forgiveness, revenge, or something colder. Only that it was hers to choose now. Emily stayed at her sister's place across town, a cramped apartment above a thrift store. Every night she lay awake on the lumpy pull-out couch, the baby's soft breathing beside her, while guilt gnawed at the edges of her resolve. Had she betrayed Adam? Or had she finally chosen herself? It was hard to tell the difference in the small hours of the morning. Adam called once, twice, left a dozen texts. "Please, just talk to me. We can fix this." I swear. She didn't answer. Not yet. Not until she figured out what she actually wanted, or what was even left of her wanting. Meanwhile, the investigation picked up speed. Valerie kept her updated. Coded messages, terse check-ins. Adam's name wasn't splashed across the news yet, but indictments were coming. One evening, Emily found herself back near the old neighborhood, driving in wide, uncertain circles. Out of some broken impulse, she pulled up a few houses away from their home. The lights were on inside. Adam sat on the porch steps, hunched over, staring at the street like he could will her back into existence. Next to him, a woman sat down, a neighbor, Mrs. Halloran. She handed him a plate of cookies, like he was a lost child who needed comforting. Emily watched from the car, unseen, feeling a strange pang. He looked smaller than she remembered. Or maybe she had grown in the leaving. A new text buzzed on her phone. From Valerie. "He's not the only one. Bigger names. Tell me if you find anything else." Emily leaned back against the headrest, a slow realization creeping over her. Adam was guilty, but he wasn't alone. Maybe she had more power than she thought. Another week passed before she agreed to meet him. Neutral ground, a diner halfway between their worlds, heavy with the smell of old coffee and fried onions. Adam was already there when she arrived, fidgeting with a paper napkin until it shredded between his fingers. His eyes were raw. He looked up when she slid into the booth but didn't reach for her. For once he understood there were no easy gestures left. He said, voice cracking. She just stared at him. Waited. "I didn't know how to fix it," he said. "I didn't know how to stop everything from falling apart after the baby, after the debt, after—" "You didn't ask for help," she interrupted. "You lied instead." He swallowed hard, nodded. "I was scared you'd see me the way I saw myself," he said. "Weak. Stupid. Not enough." The admission stung, partly because she recognized herself in it. She had stopped seeing him fully, too, in those long months of exhaustion and resentment. Still. "You didn't just betray me," she said. "You endangered us. You endangered her." The unspoken name of their daughter hung heavy between them. Adam leaned forward. "I'll do whatever it takes. I'll testify. I'll turn over everyone if it means you and I have a shot." Emily stirred her coffee, watching the cream swirl. "You're not doing it for me," she said finally. "You're doing it for yourself." And that was the crux of it. Love wasn't a bandage. It wasn't enough on its own. As they parted outside, Adam reached for her hand, but she stepped back. "I'm not promising anything," she said. "But I'll think about it." A softness crossed. His face, hope maybe, or desperation. Maybe both. She turned and walked to her car without looking back. The road ahead was still blurry, but one thing was clear. Emily wasn't waiting for Adam to save her. Whatever future she chose, rebuilding, Starting over, even revenge. She would build it herself, brick by brutal brick, and maybe, just maybe, there was something powerful in that. Ending note. The story closes with Emily standing at the crossroads of her life, not with an answer, but with the agency to choose. The reader is left wondering whether she will rebuild with Adam, seek justice for herself, or carve out an entirely new life, away from the ruins. The courthouse steps were slick with rain, the sky low and gray. Emily stood just beyond the heavy oak doors, a sleeping baby pressed against her chest in a carrier, her coat wrapped tightly around them both. Inside, Adam was testifying. She hadn't gone in. She couldn't. In the end, he had done what he promised. Turned over the evidence, handed up the names higher on the ladder. It wasn't mercy or nobility that motivated him. It was survival. Plea deals and reduced sentences. A second chance Emily had agreed to meet him after. She owed him that much, maybe. A few minutes later, Adam pushed through the doors, his face drawn and exhausted. Their eyes met across the wet concrete. For a moment, neither moved. He walked toward her slowly, hands stuffed deep in his jacket pockets. "You came," he said. She shrugged. "You testified." He nodded, shivering slightly in the cold. "It's over now. The worst of it." "For you," she said. "Maybe." Adam looked at her, really looked. She saw the regret carved into him, the deep cracks that no easy words could fill. "I still love you," he said. "I always will." Emily shifted the baby closer, feeling the warm weight of her daughter's tiny, sleeping body. Her heart ached in a complicated, exhausted way. "I know," she said, "but sometimes that's not enough." Adam blinked rapidly, but he didn't argue. Maybe he had finally learned. They stood there a moment longer, two people linked by a history too painful to hold and too stubborn to forget. Then Emily took a deep breath, kissed her daughter's forehead, and walked past him toward the street. She didn't look back. This time, she didn't have to. Later, at her sister's apartment, Emily unpacked a small box. A fresh lease agreement, a stack of resumes, the beginnings of a new life. The road ahead was lonely. It was terrifying. It was hers. Outside, the rain tapered off, and for the first time in a long while, the air smelled clean. Final lines. Trust wasn't something you gave blindly. It was something you rebuilt, brick by broken brick. And Emily was done burying things that should have been left in the open. Stylistic notes. Open ending. Emily does not reconcile with Adam, but there is no explosive revenge either, only quiet, painful separation and growth. Moral ambiguity. Adam's betrayal and partial redemption are both real. Emily's pain and strength coexist. Realism. The emotional consequences linger. There is no neat closure, just a believable first step forward. The new apartment was small, 2 rooms and a balcony, barely big enough for a folding chair, but it was clean, bright, and hers. Emily sat at the kitchen table, bills and papers spread out around her, the baby chewing on a plastic spoon nearby. A job offer lay open in front of her. A project coordinator position for a nonprofit rebuilding homes in low-income neighborhoods. Not glamorous, not easy, but meaningful. She traced the bolded salary figure with her fingertip, feeling a tight knot of pride uncoil inside her. She hadn't needed Adam to get here. She hadn't needed anyone but herself. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. For a second, her hand froze over it. Then she answered. "Emily Sanders?" a male voice asked. "Yes. This is Detective Marshall. With the Financial Crimes Unit. You helped Detective Valerie last fall. We're following up on some loose ends," Emily tensed. "I gave everything I had." "We know," the detective said, This isn't about Adam. It's about Marissa. Emily felt the ground shift slightly beneath her. Marissa. The woman who had started it all. The woman who had seduced Adam, not entirely for personal reasons, but as part of her investigation, or so Emily had believed. Turns out, the detective said carefully, Marissa wasn't working solely for us. She was being paid off by one of the contractors under investigation. She manipulated Adam, but she was also covering her tracks. She made sure some names stayed hidden. Big names. Emily pressed her fingers to her temple. What does this have to do with me? Your ex-husband's testimony might not be enough, and someone leaked your cooperation to the press. You could be a target. A cold fear twisted in her gut. She looked at her daughter, oblivious on the floor, babbling at her spoon. We're recommending you stay alert, the detective continued. And if you see anything suspicious, call us immediately. The call ended. The silence afterward felt thick and dangerous. Later that night, when the baby was finally asleep, Emily stood by the window and stared out into the dark parking lot. She thought of Adam. Was he safe? Would he blame her for this too, when the hammer fell harder than either of them had expected? Part of her wanted to call him, warn him. Part of her wanted to erase every last connection between them. The knock on the door came at 10:30 p.m. Soft, polite. Her heart climbed into her throat. She didn't move. She didn't breathe. Another knock, then silence. When she finally worked up the nerve to peek through the peephole, there was no one there. Just the dim hallway, empty, but on the welcome mat was a single object, a gold earring. Delicate, dainty. The same one she had found months ago under Adam's seat, the one he had tossed away, except now it was back. Emily slammed the deadbolt shut. She checked the locks on every window. She cradled her daughter to her chest and rocked back and forth, whispering promises she didn't know if she could keep. We're safe. I'll keep you safe. But she didn't know anymore if safety was even possible. Secrets had a way of following you, long after you thought you had buried them, and sometimes what you buried didn't stay dead. Ending mood. Suspenseful cliffhanger. Emily is no longer just emotionally haunted. There is a real threat now, connecting betrayal, corruption, and lingering danger. Moral complexity. Emily is forced to consider whether to reach back to Adam, help him, or protect herself and her child at all costs. Bittersweet. She has agency, but the world is messier than a simple clean break. The next morning, Emily didn't call the police. Something in her resisted the idea of trusting strangers again, even ones with badges. Instead, after dropping her daughter off at her sister's, she drove across the city, back to the neighborhood, where it all began. The old construction site where Adam's firm had gotten tangled up in corruption. It was abandoned now. Half-finished homes sagging in the early spring rain, wood beams dark and rotting. Emily parked and sat for a long moment with the engine idling. What the hell am I doing? She wasn't a detective. She was barely keeping herself together. But then, she thought of the gold earring on her doormat, of the way the hallway had seemed too quiet, and of the way no one, not even Adam, had truly told her the whole story. If she wanted the truth, she would have to dig it out herself. Even if it hurt, even if it scared her. Inside the construction site, the mud sucked at her boots. Pieces of equipment, rusted and discarded, littered the place. Graffiti bloomed across unfinished walls. She wasn't sure what she was looking for. Only that she needed something, some thread to pull. In the main building, the one that had been meant to be a community center, she found the first clue, a worn leather portfolio, half buried under a tarp. Inside were blueprints, contracts, a list of subcontractors Adam's company had hired and fired mid-project. Marissa's name wasn't there, But another one was Cole Jensen. Emily didn't recognize it immediately, but scribbled next to it in Adam's familiar messy handwriting were the words, "Marissa's guy." Her chest tightened. So Adam had known more than he admitted. He hadn't just been used. He'd been complicit. Maybe not fully, maybe not willingly, but still, he had known. When Emily got back to her car, her phone buzzed again, a text. "Blocked number. Leave it alone. This is your only warning." She stared at the screen, blood pounding in her ears. Across the street, a black SUV sat idling. Tinted windows, no plates she could see. The hair on the back of her neck stood up, without. Thinking, she snapped a photo with her phone, a small defiance, a small proof that she wasn't going to just disappear. She shoved the car into reverse and sped away, heart hammering. That night, Emily sat at the tiny kitchen table, the portfolio spread out in front of her. The baby was asleep. The city outside hummed with sirens and life, indifferent. She knew she had two choices. Option 1, burn everything, go into hiding, pretend none of this had touched her. Option 2, finish what Adam was too weak, too compromised to finish, expose them all. Burn it all down, no matter who got caught in the flames. Her hands shook slightly as she pulled out a clean sheet of paper and started making a list. Cole Jensen, Marissa Grant, the firms listed in the contracts, the shell companies, and Adam. Maybe. She loved him once, maybe a part of her always would, but love didn't mean blindness anymore, not for her, not after everything they had buried. Ending of this section. Emily was tired of surviving. It was time to fight. Narrative direction from here. We can go further into Emily contacting a journalist or independent investigator. Emily getting blackmailed or threatened, Adam reaching out, begging her to stop, and forcing a brutal confrontation. Marissa confronting Emily herself, face-to-face showdown. The meeting wasn't planned. It found Emily. She was coming out of the grocery store, a paper bag tucked under one arm, mind already spinning with plans and doubts, when a hand closed gently around her wrist. Emily spun, heart in her throat. It was Marissa. Older than Emily remembered, less polished than in the photos Adam had deleted in shame. Her blonde hair was scraped back into a careless bun, her jeans torn, her smile a tight wire. "Emily," Marissa said lightly, like they were old friends bumping into each other. "Been meaning to talk." Emily jerked her arm away. "Stay the hell away from me." Marissa just smiled, calm, almost pitying. "You think you're the hero now," she said. "But you don't even know what you're standing in." Emily backed away toward the car, keys in hand like a weapon. "Don't follow me." Marissa tilted her head, studying her. "You have a kid now, right? Cute little thing. Shame if she got caught in the crossfire." Emily's blood iced over. "You stay away from my daughter," Marissa shrugged. "I don't want trouble. You and I, we're not enemies. Adam? Sure, he was sloppy. But you? You're nobody. You don't have to be part of this." The words hit Emily, harder than she expected. You're nobody. The same feeling she had battled for years, invisible, unimportant, disposable, but not anymore. Emily stepped closer, voice low and cold. "If you touch my daughter, if you even breathe near her, I will burn everything you're hiding. I don't care who goes down with you. I don't care if I go down too." For the first time, Marissa's smile faltered. Emily shoved past her and got into the car, locking the doors with a sharp click. As she pulled out of the lot, she saw Marissa still standing there watching her, a hand resting lightly on her hip, where Emily had no doubt a weapon was tucked just out of sight. That night, Emily packed a small bag, cash, baby clothes, a burner phone. She wasn't running. Not exactly. But she was ready if she needed to vanish for a while. She also sent an anonymous tip to a journalist Valerie had once mentioned. a woman who had made a career exposing dirty developers and corrupt city officials. Attached to the email was a carefully curated folder, copies of the contracts, names, shell companies, the photo of the black SUV, and one line, simple and final. If anything happens to me or my daughter, publish everything. Immediately, Emily hit send. Then she sat by her daughter's crib, listening to her soft, even breathing, and waited for the storm she knew was coming. This time, she wouldn't hide from it. This time, she would meet it head-on. Ending mood. Emily has truly transformed. No longer reactive, no longer powerless. The stakes are personal and massive, danger to her daughter, but also a shot at justice. The confrontation with Marissa reveals Emily's new backbone. She's no longer the woman begging Adam to explain. She's the one issuing threats and meaning them. 2 days later, the city exploded. Not literally, not yet, but it felt like a bomb had gone off. The expose hit the news at dawn. Headlines screaming about fraud, bribery, blackmail tied to the failed housing project. Names, photos, details. It was worse than Emily had imagined. City councilmen, bankers, contractors, and Adam. Not the worst of them, not by far, but not clean either. His signature on documents, his name on shell companies, his face splashed across the evening news under the words, whistleblower, or co-conspirator? Emily watched it all from the borrowed couch at her sister's apartment, her daughter babbling at her feet, blissfully unaware. Part of her wanted to throw up. Part of her felt relieved. The secrets were out. No more gaslighting. No more pretending. Just truth. Ugly and raw, but honest. The knock on the door came just after dark. Urgent. Heavy. Emily's sister Sarah looked up from the kitchen, alarm flashing across her face. Who the hell? Emily already knew. She grabbed the baseball bat from under the couch and moved quietly to the door. Through the peephole, Adam. Alone. Soaked from the rain. Eyes bloodshot, face drawn tight with desperation, Emily hesitated, then opened the door, the chain still latched. You have 30 seconds, she said. Then I call the cops. Adam pressed his palms together like he was praying. Please, he rasped. Please just let me explain. Emily stared at him through the gap, searching his face for some sign of sincerity. All she saw was ruin. Explain what? She said. That you lied to me again? That you dragged me and our daughter into your mess? Adam flinched. I tried to protect you, Emily laughed, a dry, broken sound. You protected yourself. For a second, neither spoke. Rain hammered the sidewalk. Finally, Adam said, voice cracking, They're going to kill me, Emily. Marissa. Those people. I'm dead either way. I needed you to know. He stopped himself, mouth trembling. I needed you to know I never meant to hurt you. Emily leaned her forehead against the door. Some part of her, buried deep, still ached for the boy she had loved. But she wasn't that girl anymore. You don't get to need me now, she said quietly. You had 1,000 chances. Behind her, Sarah picked up the phone, ready to dial. Adam heard the click of buttons and straightened, something hollow and resigned settling over him. I'm sorry, he said, backing away. For everything. He turned and walked into the rain without another word. Emily closed the door and slid to the floor, pressing her fists into her eyes until she saw stars. Her daughter started crying in the other room. Emily wiped her face, stood up, and went to her. The world outside burned. But here, in this small, cluttered apartment, life, real life, went on, one day at a time, one breath at a time. Final lines. The past was a graveyard. Emily was done digging. It was time to build something new. Story themes. Resolved. Trust and betrayal. Exposed fully. No more illusions. Moral ambiguity. Adam isn't a villain or a hero, just a broken man making desperate, selfish choices. Forgiveness versus survival. Emily chooses survival. Forgiveness, if it ever comes, will be her own, not something she owes Adam. Open but bittersweet ending. Emily's future is still uncertain, but for the first time it belongs entirely to her. The house was small, but it was hers. Emily stood barefoot on the porch, mug of coffee warming her hands, and watched her daughter chase soap bubbles across the patchy lawn. The sun was just climbing over the trees. The world smelled like damp earth and cut grass. No sirens, no black SUVs. No hidden threats lurking just beyond view. After the expose, there had been a few brutal months. Interviews, threats, even a half-hearted attempt to silence her that had ended with the FBI getting involved. Marissa had disappeared. Vanished. Overseas, most people said. Adam had taken a plea deal. He was serving time in a low-security prison, out in the desert somewhere. She hadn't heard from him since. Sometimes, late at night, she wondered if she could have forgiven him, if he had stayed. If he had fought for her instead of for himself. But that wasn't the story they had lived. That wasn't the story she had written for herself in the end. Now she worked part-time for a local nonprofit. Rebuilding, repurposing, helping the people the system had almost destroyed. It didn't pay much, but it paid enough. And more than that, it gave her back a piece of her soul. Inside, the clock chimed 8. Daycare drop-off. Work. Life. Inching. Forward. Emily smiled and called her daughter's name. The little girl laughed and ran toward her, soap bubbles clinging to her hair like a halo. Emily crouched to catch her, lifting her into a hug, feeling the solid, wriggling weight of her in her arms. Proof of everything Emily had survived. Proof of everything worth fighting for. The past would always be there, a shadow on the horizon. But it didn't own her anymore. She had walked through fire and come out the other side, not unscarred, but whole, stronger, wiser, free. Final sentence. Emily kissed her daughter's temple, breathed in the morning air, and stepped into the day, whatever it would bring.